So I mean, I guess you've talked a fair bit about NFTs with different people, with gym bros and things. So I'm guessing your audience has got a fairly good idea on what an NFT is and what it's capable of in terms of maybe memberships or access to different things. Really, it's a contract or a key which once bought can't be verified. Oh, sorry, can't be replicated. Only verifiable on the blockchain, and allows you access to certain things. And that's only the access part of it. The other part of it is the money that you can make back in the future if it's an investment in a project that's going to get bigger and bigger over time. So the main way that it's going to disrupt the music industry is right now in the music industry, and still far less than it was in the past. In 1980s, when Michael Jackson had to release a single or an album, there was probably 100 people involved in that release, from publicists to mastering engineers to mixing engineers to the press release, the lawyers. So much of a effort to try and get something out. Go forward a bit, technology increases. You've suddenly got people who can sit in their garage or their bedroom and make a song or an album, and then they are still releasing through the normal methods. And a lot of the infrastructure that was still there in the older era, is still there now. So the record labels and the distributors and that sort of matter. The way that NFTs are going to disrupt all that is suddenly you've got a verifiable access code, an NFT, which you can link to your song or link to your album, and therefore accrue royalties, and that be completely verified. As with anything with crypto, it's kind of trying to cut out that middleman and cut out the need for a third party to stand there and say, this looks good, and then take their handful. Something like 88% of the money made in the music industry, which is about $42 billion a year, goes to the middleman, and only 12% goes to the artist. So that will be drastically changed, I dare say, over the next sort of 5-10 years. It's already being changed enormously. So artists like Blau, 3LAU, he's looking a lot into this technology, and he's starting a decentralized app called Royal, where you can actually fraction out your royalties to your fans, so that they can, if they see value in you early on, make a bet on you really, and then follow you through as you get larger and larger. If your royalties start to accrue through streaming methods or through publishing methods, then obviously they get a little bit of a chunk in that too, which I think is awesome. And it allows the fans to not only take a part in sharing your music, which if they like it, they're going to share it amongst their friends. They're going to use a bit of their social credit and say, hey, I like this person. I think they're going to be great. Do you want to go to some of their shows? Do you want to try and get into contact with this person? They're only little at the moment. And over time, they may make a bit of a social gain over that time. So if you end up blowing up, you can say to your mate, well, like we were watching this dude back in 2013 when he was just playing outside of a pub. And if you see value in that person, same as any other investment, you ask Warren Buffett, and he says, if you see value in a company, you only need to make a couple of bets over time. And if you see value in a musician, which some people have got a very keen eye or a keen ear to see who's going to do well over time, then suddenly you've got this investable layer on every artist, which not only benefits the artist, but it also benefits the fans, because they're doing a lot of the marketing, they're doing a lot of the advertising for you, whether they're buying a merch shirt and walking around, or they're sharing amongst their friends. That peer-to-peer contact and growth is really the fastest way to get new fans and get new audiences. So the incentives align with NFTs, and everyone can make a bit of benefit.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought about it in that sort of detail and depth, but there's a bunch of things there. So the artists themselves, if they're only making a fraction of, a cent on the per listen on Spotify or something like that, there really is that thing of if you only have, 1,000 people that really love your stuff, but they actually really love it and they buy whatever you kind of put out, then that makes being a professional musician much more doable online. And then obviously you've still got your, your live venue, face-to-face type stuff. But those 1,000 people in some of those models that you're talking about, like they're actually incentivized, and some of those people are going to be really good at telling their buddies, like, yeah, this is really good stuff. That hasn't really been a thing where someone could benefit from that. They would just do that for the band because they love it, and that's good. But I mean, the money is being made somewhere. So as you say, it's just redistribution of that. Some of it being back to the fans, some of it being back to the artist, and then like a small fraction to the middleman rather than almost all of it. If there's a website that sort of provides that service and gets a percentage, 3% or 5% or something, transaction fee on NFT sales. So is it, have you looked at guys who are actually doing well with this? Have you looked at some of the numbers, like how much money people are making with these, this kind of model now?
Definitely. Blau is definitely the man to look at in this space. He's, as I said, he's making that decentralized application so that you can do it a lot more frictionlessly. So I guess with anything with crypto, you're limited by how many people know what crypto is, know how to make a MetaMask, know how to get into it without feeling scared or deterred by the mainstream media. And what he aims to do is make it more frictionless. So if you're someone who's quite small, you can contact them and say, look, I want to do a release of maybe 500 NFTs on my new release. What he did was he gave away 50% of his rights to one of his songs. And I think he made between 200 and 400K just off that one song. I think from his album drop, there was something like $11 million that he made in NFTs. And some of those NFTs resold for millions of dollars again. So he, through splitting royalties, is essentially making that an investment for people. I know there's tons and tons of other people. We saw Katy Perry doing a Theta Drop, a T Drop there, and I'm sure she made quite a bit. Other DJs and things have done live set NFTs. So they sell the ownership rights to one of their whole live sets. And some of those have gone for $500,000 or $1 million. Who was it? Grimes made, I know, at least a couple of $1 million when she did her NFT drop. I think what people are worried about a little bit is what is going to be the long-term investment and what is going to be just the initial cash grab as NFTs evolve. Certainly initially, anyone with any kind of stature could sell an NFT because they had that audience which wanted to participate in the value they were providing and gain a bit of value as well, whether they wanted to flip it or whether they wanted to keep it as some sort of emotional connection to that artist. But the worry, I think, is, and people are, I'm sure, changing a bit now, is if you put a certain price on that NFT and there's nothing actually, no smart contracts attributed to that, whether it's through royalties, whether it's to a redistribution of the resell money. So the interesting thing that you touched on before was the royalties that you get through Spotify is not very much. If you get 1 million plays, it's something like $2,800. It's not very much at all. It's a third to a half a cent a stream. Different platforms like Audius are doing it a bit better, which is a decentralized streaming platform. They've just hit over 6 million monthly users. And that's going on a model where you would connect your MetaMask and you would earn audio tokens through watching advertising. And you would earn your audio tokens, and then you would spend your audio tokens just fractionally listening to one song. Because if you think about how many songs do I actually listen to a week, do I use that $10 that I pay to Spotify completely? You'd have to listen to thousands and tens of thousands of songs to get your money back on what you're paying the artist through Spotify. And because Spotify has done so many big deals with record labels and things, they've got to sign away a lot of that money that they get each month to the record labels just to have that music on there. So the solution to that problem, and the problem, just to restate it in less words, was if you're a small artist and you're not making many streams, especially through Spotify, and not paying very much, is giving 10% of your royalties for a certain song worth very much? Probably not. And again, people can make a long-term bet. If they see value in you, you're going to gain money over time. What I think is a faster income method is allowing them monthly payouts of your reselling pool. So let's say, for my example, so for Florist, which is me and my bandmate, Sam Fleming, he's a producer and I'm the vocal for our band. And if we're going to do 1,000 tokens for our release tomorrow coming up, the 1,000 tokens through the 1,000 people rule. I'm not too sure who made it first, but I heard about it on Tim Ferriss. The idea that if you've got 1,000 fans and they're wanting to spend $50 or $100 on you over a year, you can make $50,000 to $100,000. So if we sell 1,000 NFTs for $50 each, we make 500,000. We obviously give a little bit of that money back to the artists who help us do the art. But each time it gets resold, if it does, we keep 10%, and 5% of that reselling goes into a redistribution pool, so that over time, there's an incentive to sell the NFT if it becomes more valuable. But there's also an incentive to hold the NFT with fractional payouts from that accruing redistribution pool, which I think would be, if NFTs start being sold for more and more and more and more, which tends to be what happens, especially in this hot period now, then that may be a more interesting way to make money for the fans who want to buy the NFT, because not only do they want to buy it and possibly resell it, but they could buy it and earn a very long-term income that is possibly infinite. If I keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and they've got the first 1,000 tokens that we ever did, that they could keep reselling some of them, and some of the people that hold it may keep getting more and more money as a slowly accruing income stream over time.
Yeah, it comes back to value. If you're extremely valuable, then you're extremely valuable, and if someone can recognize it, then they can participate in that value. And I'm thinking about how this carries over to personal trainers or knowledge economy. It's exactly the same thing. It's just, is this really valuable? But there's some details around that. Like, say, if you were to only have 1,000 NFTs, like, it's interesting to think how this is going to play out. Like, will these songs only be available to those NFT holders, or would you still have it on Spotify? And will people still want to hold the NFT just because the NFT is cool? Like the Katy Perry stuff, like, you didn't buy anything to do with her music. You didn't buy the music. You didn't buy rights to the music. You didn't buy royalties. You just bought an NFT that's related to her brand because she's got such a big brand. The way that you're talking about it there, would you have to give those people exclusive use of the music? Obviously, they could still kind of rip off the music if other people wanted to listen to it or whatever. But again, that's not really the thing. Like, it doesn't matter about, well, they're the only people who have the music. It's they're the only people who have the NFT for the music. So it's like when your friends burnt you a CD versus, you're probably too young for that, but when you
mum was burning me CDs all the time.
Yeah, so you had CDs. Like, if you bought the actual CD, it was cooler to have the case and to have the artwork. Like, it did feel different to like someone having the burnt CD, and they tended to be a little bit higher quality or more reliable generally. But is it just going to play out as like, I'm actually supporting this guy and it's cool, like, rather than just kind of ripping off the music or trading it around? Like, will it need that exclusivity is kind of what I'm wondering about.
It's a really, really, really interesting point, and a good question, because a couple of ways to think about it. One, I would use the example of Yeezys. Obviously, I'm no Yeezy, but like, when you buy Yeezys, some people just want the real Yeezys, even though the fake ones are made in the similar factories. They wear the same when you're walking with them. It doesn't really matter the comfort-wise. You couldn't tell them apart if you held them, but everyone still wants the real Yeezy, and they'll pay an arm and a leg for them. So I think with music, it is a tricky one. It's not just like artwork. But again, we can still look at the art world and what they're doing with NFTs. You can still print out the JPEG, but people are still paying millions of dollars for this. So then you ask, what is the extra value that is accrued if you do buy the verifiably original florist NFT? And that's where you would, we could put you in a Discord and have discussions with us, give us ideas for songs, give us, maybe one-on-one chats if they wanted to have a chat about starting their music career, or if they wanted to have different access to live shows or live streams. The other one is, let's say we're doing it for a specific release, we could put a cheeky second and third verse in there for the limited edition. So they get 2 extra verses or 2 different parts of the song that they can then listen to and no one else can. And that's kind of like a little hidden part that other people can't get. And then I think the big part is sort of what we discussed before as well. People may not be buying it completely just to support us. There's such a big financial incentive for them if they see value in us as a unaccomplished person as of yet. Similar to people jumping on Theta when it's quite early and seeing, there's a lot of value there. I'm happy to put my support and wear a hoodie and try and show it around a bit to gain more momentum in the community. Similar with these NFTs, if they're going to do it for an artist, that artist may get big already, but if you're suddenly giving them a financial incentive to not only hold the NFT, but also, share around your stuff, put up posters for you if they wanted to, and they're suddenly a shareholder in the business. I think that's where it comes a bit tricky. If you're already a big artist, like what are you really gaining? Sometimes it's just the clout, just to say, I got an original NFT, and it's questionable whether it's going to go up or down over time, and how obviously the scarcity of it makes it more and more rare, more and more valuable. But I think there's obviously all the other rareable things to do with tokens and Pokemon cards and baseball cards and everything else.
Yeah, I was just thinking about, a band could have that they'll do, one live show a year to the token holder. I think Gary Vee has it like that, where I think you can catch up with him like 2 or 3 times during the year for 2 hours in New York. So yeah, like a band, or you could have it something like that.
Yep, I was thinking another different NFT could be that they tell us a bit of their story about their life, something emotional they're going through, or something happy they're going through as well, and we could write a song based on that. It's literally as far as you want to stretch the mind is what you could assign to the smart contracts, and it's really about how much value they see in you, and what kind of quirky things they would love to do for an artist, or love to spend with an artist, or to be a part of it, of the growth.
Yeah, it becomes much more personal as well. Like if you do that live show, you could sign the rights over to them of what happens with the video and the recording, or it could stay with you as well, so you generate more. Like there's, and then like you could see how that could be huge money. Like for big bands, that could be, in the tens of millions. And that would just go directly in their pocket. Maybe big bands don't care at some point, but I'm sure a lot of artists aren't actually doing as well as you'd think they're doing for how well known that, especially like Australian bands and things like that, where the population size is not as big, the market's not as big.
Exactly.
Very cool. So what are you thinking for yourself for the next steps with this? Where are you guys at with it?
So we've got an artist working on 36 completely unique NFTs, and they're in different categories. So I originally based it on, let's say we're dropping tomorrow, not tomorrow, the song tomorrow. It's going to come out sometime in the next month or two. There will be 20 0.5% ownership of the royalties, publishing rights, mastering rights of tomorrow. There will be 10 1%. There will be 5 2%, and there will be 1 10%. So we're giving away 40% of our royalties, mastering rights, publishing rights. So that if we start getting bigger, those people who own those NFTs get bigger along with us. And I liked the idea of having different rungs. It seems like with all the other NFT projects and any kind of investing strategy, some people might want to have a bigger share, some people might want to pay less and have a smaller share. But the interesting thing that we thought about then was, how do you are they going to make much money off even the 10% of that royalties? They could make a fair bit. Some of the bigger bands and things can make $360,000 if they're getting millions of streams each year through different avenues, through publishing avenues and things as well. So there is still real money there. There is another way to do it, even not decentralized as well. So there's something called the Royal Exchange. And similar to the stock exchange, you can buy rights, either recording rights or publishing rights or streaming rights, and you can again, pay a certain amount and get an income over time. Over 10 years, you can sell your songs for 10 years or 5 years, so that they pay you a certain amount up front, and then they can keep earning the money in that time, but you've earned quite a bit up front, which, to a small artist like me, if I could make $50,000, $50,000 or $100,000 for a song, like, that's me sweet for a year or two. A lot of artists won't make that much money in a very long time. And the way that we're thinking about it is we're actually having a bit of a universe for Florist. So we'll have different characters for each song, and in the end, we'll have kind of a universe to play out in. Each song will be a different coloured. We haven't thought of the actual universes, the people's names yet, but they're humanoid, and each of them has a different kind of personality and colour, if you will. So you're not only tokenizing the song, you're also giving it a bit of a human aspect, so that it can live on in the metaverse or live on in certain places as technology gets further and further along. So you'll see a bit about that in the next month or two. With Friend Fix, the song I've just released as a solo artist for Jamie White, I'm thinking about making maybe between 1 and 10 NFTs and putting quite a bit of money onto it. And if people want to buy shares or buy that song outright as an NFT or on the Royal Exchange or through Royal, which is the decentralized application from Blair, then they can. But I'll put like a number on there that I think in the future would be very, very reasonable. But now it seems maybe quite expensive. And if it doesn't go for that, that's fine. I can still hold it. And if it does go for that, then I'll be quite a happy boy, knowing that I've still got lots of music to make over my career. And if that can get me in the sector, if that can put me in people's eyesight a bit, and I give away a whole song for a certain amount of money, then that's a win-win for me. Yeah.
So would that mean that song doesn't go onto Spotify or such, or is it like what we were talking about with, it's more just the fact that you have the real Yeezys, like which way are you thinking about going with that?
So it would still be everywhere. I know it must be an interesting concept to get your mind around, because it's like in a lot of other things, let's say artwork, like the artwork just sits there. You look at the art, people appreciate the art, people might resell the art. With music, because people are constantly listening to it and it's being streamed, there's an income being made from that stream. So you can really have that song everywhere, because even if you didn't, people would still rip it off and find it somewhere and then share it around. So you'd still have that song everywhere, but it's actually a recurring income stream. If you want to think about it like an investment, like that NFT is really just giving you access to all the rights, all the you own that song, you make the money from that song.
Okay, yeah. So you're wanting to sell all the rights to that song. That's what you're saying. So,
yep.
And will they be able to actually, like, will it be playable? Like, will it be like you can click and play the song? Like, I know it's probably a
I know what you mean. Yeah, it's so that's where it gets interesting. Like, what is that person going to hold? Could you give them something physical? Could you give them something audio, which has a bit of a movie attached to it that no one else has? Do you give them, Blau gives people a waveform carved in acrylic or glass, so you can sit that there and say, I own this song. Um, when they use their NFT and click forward, can they do other things with it? Exclusive content? Can they have your phone number and get into contact with you once a year, same as Gary Vee sort of thing? And that's where you tie in all the other things as well. You definitely give them an audio file, a really, really high quality audio file. And maybe you give them the rights to be able to remix that as well if they were a producer. With that, I think at least having some sort of physical thing they can hold, which allows them to have that, display that in their home or look at it and remember the investment they made or the connection they've got to the artist. But then when they click into that as an audio file or a video file, then having some sort of exclusive content there, I think would be a good idea too.
Very cool. So what price are you thinking for your song there that you've written yourself?
It's a good question. I'll either do, say 100 or somewhere between 1 and 500 tokens, I'd say. And depending on the amount, I want the amount to add up to about $100,000. So if that's 1,000 true fans at $100, that's not very much. If that's 100 at $1,000, then they can buy that as well, which is a bigger stake, a bigger amount of money that they can get. Do I sell it as 50% one chunk and then split up the other 50s? These are all things that I'll definitely have a think about, but I'm going to do something which will be eye grabbing and try to. For me, it may be, one, trying to build a connection with the fans and the people that want to support me. And in that sense, I might split it up more to give more people access to buying one. But in my head, I've got about, $80,000 to $100,000 all up to give away the complete rights. So if that ends up being a hit song, I've lost money on that, but I don't mind because the attention and it becomes paid advertising, and the connection I can build with people from that and release more music and build more connection and provide more value to people, that will increase over time. That might be a good Kickstarter.
Yeah, the odds are probably, depends how much you're backing yourself, but you can't really lose, because even if you lose on the rights for that song, if you've done that early in your career and you're winning anyway because you can make new songs. So if you win anyway, and if you lose, then you win because you made some money off a song that never made any money. But as long as people love you and love the music, then, they know they're taking the risk. It's, buyer beware, like people are spending their money on all sorts of whatever. So, this is just one way they can choose to speculate, to support. People would buy for a lot of different reasons, as you've sort of pointed out, like can be a status thing.
Yeah. I
mean, with the bigger chunks that you're talking about, it's kind of the same, right? Like, because someone could easily buy 50 tokens and, that's generally how the fractionalized stuff, like I'm in one of like an NFT club, and those tokens sold for 1 ETH, but then the people who have multiple tokens get further up the list when there's, something going on. So like the guy sold 10,000 tokens at 1 ETH. So it's like a $30 million launch, and then some people will hold 10 of them or 20 of them, and then so they're the heavyweights, they're the big time guys in that pool. So you don't necessarily have to make that decision for other people. Other people could decide, I'm going to have 10 of these at $1,000 versus, so that's, I guess, fractionalizing it really small would make it that, all your fans would have one. Keeping it in a bigger number means that, but they could potentially fractionalize anyway, I guess. Like that's happening with Bored Apes and whatnot, like where they're going to get fractionalized anyway. So it's it kind of probably doesn't matter which decision you make. It's for the long term. For the short term, it's like what's actually going to sell. Like how many committed fans do you have that have some tech understanding, and then how many other people are looking to speculate on NFTs in music? Like that's the cool thing about it as well, Jamie, is like if not many people in Australia or, who kind of like that, they don't even have to like that style of music. It's like, how do you get the message to people who are into NFTs and who, can see that, okay, this makes sense. Like it becomes a whole different thing for you to advertise yourself. You've got like your audience of people who like your music, and then you've got people who don't care about your music at all, but want to know if you're someone who's going to be, really ambitious, if you're going to consistently produce, if you're connected to smart people or whatever. Like they might buy for all those factors and not care at all about the quality of the music, which is really weird, but it's legit. Like, you're trying to get, if you can get in the music magazines for the fact of like being entrepreneurial, that may be more important than the actual music, which I guess is the same with the art, right? Because a lot of the art is crap. So there's probably going to be crap music that actually ends up being killer NFTs in the same way that, that's happening in the art world. So it's an interesting one to sort of get you around.
It's a good point you make where, I haven't done yet, but it certainly will be my agenda and protocol to show a lot of content online and show that I'm willing and consistent and working towards bigger things consistently. Because if people see that period of work or the amount of content you're putting out in a period of time, and they track that over time, then they can be more confident that, as you said, you're an entrepreneurial type. You're going to keep pushing until things do get bigger. And you said, you made a good point where you kind of win both ways. So if no one buys out that song when I put NFTs at the start, perfect. That gives me more time to hone my craft, to get better, to keep releasing music, to show people why I can provide value to them financially, and hopefully tickle the ears a little bit as well.
Yeah, that's the other way of you can, it's still fine if the royalties stay with you. But for the fan who buys it, if you don't get big, then they just made a bet that didn't pay off. If it does go big, then, they get the royalties and they can resell, their NFT in the future. So yeah, you can't really lose unless you stop, like, which is pretty much the story of life. Like if you keep going, if you keep looking for solutions, then the game's not over. And that's the thing with NFTs as well, is that someone might buy your NFT now and you don't make any royalties for the next 3 years, but you could decide, and maybe they never make any royalties return on it, and maybe the value of the token never goes up, but you decide you're going to have a private concert in your backyard, and you can invite some other musicians and whatever, and they get to come to that, and it's like the best experience of their life, and they bought it for $500 or $1,000 or whatever you're going to sell these. So it's like, even when you lose, you can win if the NFT maker is genuinely committed to giving value to the people who hold the NFTs. And that's the big difference between all these crap anonymous projects that are going on, where that's never going to happen, versus Gary Vee, who's like, it's his life, it's his brand. And if he can continue to add value to that token, like they can pop up a surprise anything at any time. You can just go, look, I've got a bunch of money laying around. I'm going to airdrop everybody a diamond. And they can just say, like, yeah, I appreciate your loyalty, like, and that stuff is literally going to happen. Because then if Gary Vee did that, if he did airdrop a $5,000 diamond even to 100 of his holders, then his token value just goes through the roof, so it all just becomes an investment. It's not dumb for Gary Vee either, because he gets front page news. He gets whatever, like his fan loyalty goes up by 1,000%. So, he just 10x'd his brand by investing in, $50,000 worth of diamonds. Like it's just, it's a whole new game that I think a lot of people still, don't understand. Like we're looking at the Gym Bros. I've been chatting with the guy about Gym Bros. Like it looks like Gym Bros is a failed project, right? Because if you release 10,000 tokens and you only sell 3,000 tokens and then they're reselling it below market, in NFT world, that means your project flopped and it's dead. And I'm having this discussion with one of my friends of like, I don't think it's dead. And the reason why I don't think it's dead is because there's real people there and they have real ambitions. They have a real audience. They have a YouTube channel. They have real fans and they want to do a clothing brand and they still want to do live events. They want to have the physical gym because they're so early, because most people on the Gold Coast don't know what an NFT is. They don't know how to buy one. I don't think it's a failed project. I think that they just don't know what it is and how to get it yet. Because if you're getting a lifetime gym access for $250, everyone would just go and buy that. If it was going to be a cool gym, like that's a no-brainer purchase because it costs a lot more than that to have access to a gym. And even if you're going to go there, even if you're in Brizzy and you're going to go there like every now and then because it's cool, they're cool guys. It's a cool place to hang out. It's got something special about it. If there's events that are on every few months, etc., like it's not done yet. They're going to airdrop clothes to people. They may decide that they're going to do custom clothes for some of their top NFT holders. They may decide they want to collaborate with my brand and people in my community on a clothing thing. So there's so many ways that they can continue to add value. So if you've dropped that $250 on a Gym Bros NFT, that's not to say that that token may never go up in value and they may never sell out all the tokens, but you can still get way more than $250 worth of value because you might be turning up to events that they have. You might just go and get a one-on-one session with Freemsale. One of the guys in it might say, like come and train, and you might learn a bunch of stuff that improves the quality of your training for the rest of your career. He's competed in bodybuilding and stuff. So it's not over unless the owners decide the value's over and then it's over. If they give up and they just be like, thanks for coming. Like we didn't get to 80%. The deal is 80% to make the gym. So if they don't get to 80%, they don't make the gym. They have no commitment to anyone. They can just walk off with the cash now. And they made $1 million and everyone else makes, they've got a cool looking thing and a dream. And, to an extent, people wouldn't necessarily be angry about that because, it's buyer beware. Like that's how NFTs work. And, you had a little bit of fun and it was $250 and, get on with life. It's not a life-changing loss if you lose on that.
It's a good point.
But,
I was saying it's a good point you make because if Gym Bros end up turning into like Muscle Beach in California, which becomes an internationally world renowned place where people go and work out and things, if it can build that stature and they're just starting out, that's the same kind of idea with being an artist as well. And I'm going to treat it kind of as its own NFT project. I think being an artist gives you this special ability to provide value because it's not only just this point that you're giving them this song. You consistently have the ability to have more tries at building yourself more value over time with more songs, more collaborations, live shows, live events. If you make a fair bid on some of these NFTs or you start working with different event promoters, as you said before, really what people need to see is kind of the white paper of who you are and what you're trying to achieve long term and the value you're trying to provide to people long term. And as you said, if you're an artist or you're someone who owns something, is creating something, it's endless. It's as much as your brain can comprehend and as much as your brain can connect with people. Sometimes people pay $250 to go to a dinner just to be in the same room as some other people. So I think it's lucky in the sense that you can fractionalize things to such a small degree. $50, that's like a nice night dinner. That's like going out for drinks with your mates. $100, that's a big night out. It's $500, that's going to somewhere for the weekend and not sleeping. There's many people burn money all the time, and if they see value in you, that's not much money.
Yeah, that's the the fun of this is like it's a new representation of value that some people will look at it and go, well, there's no way I'm spending $250 on a JPEG. But it's so much more than that when it's real people. And it's you know, if this guy, if Freems are the founders of Gym Bros have real ambition for themselves and for their lives, then they can always come back and say, hey, like, I appreciate that you guys supported me when I was, at the stage that I was at. Like, he's got like 50,000 YouTube subscribers and 50,000 Instagram subscribers and stuff. So there's all sorts of value that he can add. Like, if he decided to do an interview with me and introduce me to his audience, then that would probably pay for itself in terms of I think I have five of the Gym Bros. So, I need to get $1,200 worth of value back. Thing is, I've already got that value back, I think, because Gym Bros helped a lot of people to understand what an NFT is, and there'll be one more person that buys my NFT as a result of understanding and getting the feeling of the Gym Bros NFT. And the pineapple one, the $30,000 that I invested in one of the custom, Secret Pineapple Society NFTs, that's already paid for itself, because that pushed me down the rabbit hole of like understanding what NFTs are. And a bunch of people have new interest in what I'm doing because of my, going down that rabbit hole. And that, that brings more respect and more value to my audience and people I'm talking about, becoming wealthier. And again, like, it leveraged me to go deeper in learning and leveraged me to get, towards launching my own NFT. It should be maybe this week or next week. And, we'll see how they go. But it's the same game, like you say, Jamie. Like, if my NFTs are going to be 10,000 Theta, 10,000 T fuel, so like around $2,000 US, something like that. Like, it's not a tiny decision for somebody. And if they don't sell, that's okay. Like, I just keep playing. Like, I keep playing. I'm going to play anyway. I'm going to keep improving, the knowledge bank that I've got. I'm going to keep improving my network. I'm going to keep improving my training. I'm going to keep building my, my channels up. So, if I sell 10, cool. If I sell 100, cool. I've got the plan. I've got the map. I know what I want to do, but the game continues, because I know that the core of the game is me becoming more valuable. And that's what makes NFTs legit. I still get people saying all NFTs are a scam. All NFTs are a cash grab. It's only a scam and a cash grab if there's no intention for exchange of value. And that's the thing, where if we continue, and it's like have you listened to the Bitcoin interview Jordan Peterson did with like 4 or 5 like hardcore Bitcoiners?
About 3/4 of it. Yep.
Yeah. So the concept is that Bitcoin turns you into a better person because you really want to be valuable, because you want to get a bigger fraction of this 20 million. There's only 20 million coins in the world. So how valuable you are is a representation of how many of those 20 million, 21 million, but some of them are lost, whatever the story is. Your value is, okay, what percentage of that value do I provide to the planet? And at the moment, a lot of people aren't in that game. They don't value Bitcoin, etc. But it's the same thing of like, once you have that mentality, then you wake up every day thinking, okay, how do I become more valuable? And you store what you earn. And I think NFTs do the same thing, but maybe even more, where it's much more personal, and you really like, how do I add value to this community? How do I become a valuable member of this community? And I've seen it there with Secret Pineapple Society, that people legitimately want to help each other out. They want to be valuable members of the group. And there's no real like tangible, it's not like with Gary Vee, where at the center of the project, there's someone who has a high value that can continue to provide value. Like, it's more of an art project. But even within that, people are brainstorming about, how do I bring more value to Secret Pineapple Society? How do we take Secret Pineapple Society from $1,000 a pineapple to, Bored Ape Yacht Club, like $200,000 a pineapple? Yeah. How do we do that? And the members are actually in there saying, like, how do we do that? So, what you're doing with selling your song, ideally, is, you're having 1,000 people that want to co-conspire with you for, how do we get, okay, when your next song comes out, you could airdrop those guys. You could decide to do 10,000 tokens, and you could airdrop a token to all those people who originally backed you. So 1,000 tokens go to those guys, but then those guys are so much more incentivized to sell those 9,000 other tokens because, you know, they got airdropped in. So it's a very different way of doing business. And some people just think business is evil. You know, those people should probably do more study on communism and look at, you know, what happens when you don't actually allow capitalism, when you don't allow business and personal incentive. But it's a new one to get your enterprise mind around. And it's like, oh, okay, I get it. How do I become more valuable? Like, that is the next question that comes to mind. Anyone listening to this, it should, like, that's what happens next is like, oh yeah, this makes sense. Oh, I can build a legit business with, you know, 1,000 people caring about the things that I do. What could I do that 1,000 people would care about? You know, and that's like, that's the best question. Like, that's the thing that we want, is more people to be excited about who they're becoming and what they can develop. Yep,
exactly. We want people providing solutions to problems. If you're going down the engineer, scientist, if you're a big thinker about problems that are facing the world, or you want people providing, you know, happiness and value for people to become better people. And I feel like that's the industry that you're in, people becoming the best versions of themselves. And I guess music is kind of, music and art is really a whole nother sector where you're providing enjoyment and providing an experience for people to enjoy their life a little bit better. It was interesting that you said, you know, you really encourage this community to want you to succeed and to help you to succeed as well. And that's where I think it's kind of replacing the record labels in a sense. They'll still have a part, but the reasons the record labels were so successful in the past is because they had the good recording equipment, they had the connections to the different radio stations, they had the connections for the big parties, they got you onto the different live shows that you were going to play, they connected you with mentors, helped you sing, helped you play guitar, all these other things which people shit on the record labels a little bit, but they're training you as an artist. And a lot of people aren't willing to do the work to become the best artist they could, or just don't know how to. So the record labels, even though they're taking a large chunk, they're guaranteeing you some success along the way as well. So then we need to know, how do we allow that structure to disintegrate and still have all the benefits for the artist to get bigger over time? And that's where you're, instead of the record label being incentivized for them to make money and give it a little bit to the artist, you've got the fans who already love you. You know, I don't have a big following yet, but let's say you're a bigger artist. They already really want to support you. And suddenly there's a big financial upside there as well. So you're really, if we think about AI, you've got different bots and things that you've got working for you when people sign up. They're sending you emails, and there's a lot of things that you can program the computer to do while you're sleeping. It's not that you're programming these people to do it because they want to, and they also have that big financial upside to be a part, to advertise, to help you market, to say, how do we make this go further? Because not only do I like your music, but I've got a big stake in your business, and if I can share that to more people, then there's a big benefit there. See, Cameron?
Yeah, that's I think that, you know, that's a good point though, Jamie. Like, maybe you will decide to give 20% of your NFT tokens to someone who is like a record label. It may actually be a record label, or it may be someone who has those sorts of skills, a manager, etc. I think it just puts things on a different level of clarity and gives the control of that process back to the music maker. But you may well be smart as a music maker. You know, it may be a smart decision to give 50% of these upcoming, you know, your song rights. If a legit, you know, someone who knows, you know, that they can explode your stuff, you might be better to give them half of that and give the other half. And guess what? The other half just got 10x in value because you got half your tokens picked up by someone who really knows their shit. So that may actually be a really, you know, smart move to look at, okay, who could I actually give half of these tokens to, you know, 10% of these tokens to, or one token to, that they're actually going to then have an interest in me. Like, could you give the token to the music magazine? Could you give the token to the, because that puts them on your team, rather than, and that's what Pineapple Society's done, right? Like they've airdropped, like they gave pineapples to guys like Digital Dave. He has like 50,000 subscribers, and he's, people know that he likes Theta. They gave one to like one of the first NBA players to take a lot of payments in Bitcoin and things like that. So like they've given away maybe 10, 20 to people who've like been big in Theta. I think they've probably made them for like the founders of Theta as well. I would say he's probably made like a Mitch Liu one, and he's gradually, releasing. He did a Santa one. So all these other ones that he's giving away are part of like growing the value of it. So if he could give one away to, like, there's a Donald Trump one. If Donald Trump actually wanted to receive it, that would be massive. If Donald Trump put it as his profile picture, like that adds ridiculous amounts of value to the game. So it's like who could you give one to that would value it? Is kind of
that's an awesome concept.
That's part of the play. But the record label itself, like if they're good at what they do, then it's still going to be important, and you're still going to want to give them value. It's just going to be more on your own terms.
Yeah, that's an awesome, really, really good idea. I know that I think Shiba Inu, when they started the second kind of dog token, they dropped like 40, like a couple million or something in Vitalik Buterum's in his crypto wallet, and he just saw it there, and people could see publicly that it was sitting there. So then they were like, "What the hell is this Shiba Inu? Go and follow that." That got bigger and bigger. So you were so right in that. Even if I'm giving away those tokens, I'm getting so much more value. Even if they just look at me and see, and just want to watch for a while, that might come back in value in 6 months or a year once I start growing a little bit of organic momentum anyway. Wow, that's a really, really good idea.
Yeah, the like Theta airdropped T Fuel at like 0.000 something of a cent. So they dropped T Fuel that is now worth like 50 cents. Well, it got up to 50 cents a coin. At the moment it's worth like 20 cents a coin.
Yep.
But effectively, like if you owned a bunch of Theta, then you got airdropped like tens of thousands of dollars as for being early on Theta. And they're about to do another one with the T Drop. So based on how much Theta you hold, you're going to get airdrop T Drop, and it's going to be worth nothing to start with. But if Theta continues to do what it's doing, like T Fuel, like people got loaded based on having Theta and then just getting airdropped that and just being loyal, and sticking with it. But you build loyalty, you build people wanting to have with Theta, it's about having your token staked. I don't know. They're doing it with the you can have it. So if someone doesn't have it on the market, then they qualify for the rewards. So you create that scarcity. Like that's probably something that could happen within the music one as well. Like where you only qualify for the airdrops if you don't have it on the marketplace. It works a little bit different on on the OpenSea. I think people can just put a bid on anything that you hold in your MetaMask, right? So I think it works differently maybe on some of the other exchanges, but that kind of concept as well of if you can airdrop, and that buys you those, buys you more loyalty, buys you more interest from those people. And then, you can potentially incentivize them to be more of whatever that loyal behavior is, based on the rewards that you're going to share.
Definitely. The another interesting thing, I sort of talked a little bit about Audius before, which is a decentralized streaming platform. And I saw that question about Sony. What's Sony Music going to do? What's Warner Brothers going to do? I know Warner Brothers signed a deal with Flow, blockchain Flow, so they're going to do NFTs releases through them, and obviously Warner Brothers, massive movies, music, all that jazz. So I would say there'd be a lot of value getting provided to Flow over time for that. I do think Spotify will have to change their game a little bit, either make it cheaper for the user, or people may go to Audius, because the amount of money you're paying per stream, let's say the Spotify pays 0.003 to 0.005 to the artist, and Audius might pay about the same thing, but it's going to be a lot cheaper for the user. And they could even bump that up to half a cent or even a full cent for people who don't listen to as much music. And you have to listen to 1,000 songs or a lot of songs each week to get back the value that you paid to Spotify. So because Spotify is taking so much of that middle money that they're actually gaining each month, they have to give it back to the record labels and things. I dare say that will have to dissolve a little bit, and they will obviously change things. I know I watched a video where they were saying that all the major music streaming networks are hiring blockchain engineers and people to integrate this Web 3.0 into those, because obviously they'd be silly not to, because there's so much changing happening. I know Audius got signed up with TikTok, and they're going to be TikTok's base for all the songs. So instead of it being played from Spotify or played from YouTube or whatever, the base of the songs will be connected to Audius. And I know that TikTok's working with Ethereum to make NFTs. If you go onto Audius and you click on the artist, they can display the NFTs that they hold. They can also have clear links back to their socials. I think Spotify is a little bit impeded in that, where you got the artist's name, you got a bit about them, a bit of bio and stuff. But if you want to go and actually connect to their website, their Instagram, YouTube, all these other things, there's not much of a ability to do that. So I think Audius is going to benefit a bit more there. One other interesting thing about Audius, not all the money comes from the streams. About 5% comes from how much is being reposted, 5% comes from how much is being saved, how active you are with your community. Those things come into factor as well.
Yeah, really cool. So how many artists are on Audius? Like you're saying there's 6 million users. Are there a lot of good artists on there, or is it it's more an electronic space at the moment, but they've got big plans to make it larger and sort of cover any kind of music. It's a bit more electronic based at the moment, and still reasonably small. Yeah. Have to check it out. Guys, we're on last few minutes here. Does anyone want to share thoughts, take homes from today's call? I'm going to read Max's quote there actually while you guys gather your thoughts. Max's quote from Andy Warhol, I think, was very fitting. During the hippie era, people put down the idea of business. They'd say money is bad and working is bad, but money is art. But making money is art and working is art. Good business is the best art. Andy Warhol. So I think that's it's a pretty good one. Is like at the center of this, at some point, everybody realizes it has to actually be good. The fever around NFTs, I think, is coming to an end of people just buying something thinking like, oh, I'm going to make a ton of quick cash. I mean, maybe that gambling side to it is going to continue to exist, but make great art of your life is really the thing that this challenges you to do. It's still the same foundations. It's just more tools in your own. It's more in your own creativity and your own creation to build what you want to build.
Yeah. I think a really good point about you were talking about people say like capitalism's bad. It's the best system we've had so far, and it's about to get 100 times better, because you can no longer not provide the value that people are paying for. Otherwise, they'll just stop paying for it. And you've got no middleman who needs to verify and say, this is what's going on and I'm going to take my chunk. And eventually it'll be all peer-to-peer. And in that setting where you've got actually some sort of blockchain or ledger watching who is doing the good things and who is doing the bad things, people doing the bad things just won't get business. They won't be able to do that for very long. So the biggest incentive there is that you've got to be honest. You've got to be making good content. You've got to be providing value to people. And I think that's what, when people realize that as a whole, then things will move very, very quickly.
Yeah, the transparency, I think, is here more than ever, and it's coming more than ever. People are concerned about like Big Brother and whatnot. Like big tech's already got everything on you. The thing is, like, everyone's going to have everything on you rather than just big tech having the data. Like they know who we are and what we do, and they've got all the information on us. But more of that information is going to be public, and people are going to publicly disclose themselves, because that's what you're going to need to do to gain the trust for people to want to buy from you. So I think we're going to come to a time of radical transparency. There are probably some setbacks or some negatives or some challenges with that, but I can't see another way around it. Yeah. Because Gym Bros is not an anonymous project. These guys, if they don't continue to add value, like they burn everybody that they know. Like they burn all of their friends and everybody. A lot of the people are going to be local people. So they're heavily leveraged and incentivized. Like he just went out and bought himself a new BMW. If you don't back it up after you do that, then you're not in a good place for the rest of your life. Like this he's still got 80 years to live, ideally. It's you're leveraged into it. So I think that the idea that, I'm just going to get some quick money with an NFT and I don't really have to do anything for it, no one's going to buy it. Like it's very difficult to do those scam projects. They're very elaborate now to kind of these hype projects that, you fake a lot of people in your Discord and you fake a lot of followers and you pay for a post on the NFT Instagram and that sort of thing. Like it's still happening, but that is going to fade off to a large extent as, everybody's had their first loss on an NFT. Like there's still a lot of people to sucker into that, but sooner or later, that is done. And what's left is, okay, like who is this person and how are they going to continue to add value to my life? And if you can see, okay, this person's going to become very valuable, then you effectively buy stocks in that person. So I was thinking about this as we're going through, like we've got Max Hernandez, one of the guys on the call, like for yourself, Jamie, guys who are on here. Lockie's working on his book. If Lockie disclosed a little bit more of who he is and what he's working on, I could buy shares in Lockie now and back him with this book that he's building about throwing. He was an elite discus thrower and shot putter. I could start to back him now and support his project because I end up owning shares in what Lockie's doing. Like if his NFT structure is set up such that you get access to all the best of what he does and his live events and whatever, then that's what an NFT makes. So it's like making me think like I want kind of all my buddies to have their own NFT. Like Max has done his productivity paradise. I was backing Max months ago of like, this guy's gonna be good. This guy keeps showing up. I see this person showing up. When people show up, they get phenomenal results that other people don't get. So I would have bought some of Max's NFTs if he had 1,000 NFTs and he was selling them at $100 to get them into the market. I would have bought some of his NFTs at that point, or I would buy them today. Because I can see, well, this guy's going to do the work. This guy's going to, he's going to do something. I could see it with Graham Tuttle, and I could see it with Ben Patrick, and I could see it with, Lucas Hardy, Lucas Aaron. So effectively, if I can have people mint when I can see, okay, this guy's got something, this guy's going to do the work. If I can have them mint, then I can also have more of a benefit. At the moment, the only way I benefit, well, there's a bunch of ways I benefit already. I benefit through the friendships and the connections are first and foremost the biggest thing, and that's still going to be the biggest thing. People might buy the products or subscriptions that I'm selling, but that has a limited shelf life, where the NFT doesn't necessarily have that same limited shelf life, which is what's exciting about it. Also, other people winning actually end up influencing back to us. Like with, Jordan Potts, for example, has, brought dozens of people into my, programs and network, and, Brando Hassick and other guys have done stuff like that. But yeah, everyone needs an NFT is my realization from today.
And you said one other thing, which was interesting. The 100%, I think everyone does as well. And you become like a venture capitalist kind of firm, because you're watching these people early on. You're saying, I'm making a bet on this human to provide value to other humans. And suddenly everything is investable. And if you can know people through psychology, through emotion, through the value that you've trained into them, in your setting, people see, okay, this person's training up really good humans. This person's helping humans be the best versions of themselves. They see more value in you. They see more value in those people as well. The interesting part was crowdfunding. You can, once you've got that little bit of momentum, you may have, if you've got 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 people that want to put in $50 or $100, then you've got $500,000, and you are pre-selling away some of the rights, and they've given you money before you've even started the project. They've said, I'll pay for your whatever wage it is for 2 or 3 years. Can you go build a project that you think is going to provide more value to other people? And you've got money in the bank then, quite happily. You can keep providing people value back to them. But first and foremost, if you go and release an album, let's say, the first $1 million in revenue and things, if you've got a very good history, they're quite happy to put that money forward. And for each individual person, it's only $50 or $100. It's not much. And you're crowdfunding before you even start the project. You just let people know, these are the principles that I'm going to work on. I'm just going to use a kazoo and my hands and my voice, and that's what I'm going to do. And you can pay me some money to sing like that. So you're crowdfunding before you even do it. So then you can set aside 3 or 4 months where you've had your salary paid, and you put all your effort into this, and people are counting on you to then provide value and an income stream into the future. Music's so interesting because if it's good songs, then or the NFTs go well, and you've got a secondary pool that people are getting paid through, it's potentially an infinite stream, even once you pass away. If that music goes bigger and bigger and bigger, or is still going well, then even if you pass away, it goes to the next of kin. So once we've got things on the blockchain, things don't really die. And even if you're having a bad year as a human, if I, crash my car and don't end up well in a coma or something, touch wood, then that money is still being made for those people who put money into you.
It's very, very interesting to think about. So what's just popped up for me is like, what about with Paul, right? So say we sold 1,000, well, say we sold 100 NFTs to Paul Council, and it means that you get to have access to whatever he produces for the oncoming, years, the years ahead, and what he's done in the past. But you also have a percentage reward from subscriptions that other people pay that are not in that 100. So anyone who decides to work with him to be on, programs, whatever, you could have a percentage of the revenue goes back to those initial. So you get if you have the subscription income linked to the initial NFT. So say with Ben Patrick, when I saw Ben Patrick and he had 50 people, and if he had his own personal NFTs, if he had 100 and I said, like this guy's huge, like I'm going to buy like 50 of these, like for 50 grand. And, other people will buy those other ones of his, or, maybe I would have only been able to get 20, but then there could be from his, tens of thousands of subscribers, there could be a 5% that goes back to those people who bought his initial. So you tie the subscription income, to the NFT through smart contract. Like that just makes so much more sense. Like I'm invested in an education app as well. So the education, and that's done traditionally, but what would be better if I was invested in his startup thing and I had a percentage of, of his initial NFTs. And I guess he can hold him back because that's what he's done. So Ben might be like, I'm only going to offer 10 and they are going to be 1,000. And I'm going to, keep selling them. So, you might get 1 out of 10, but that there's more coming. Like there's still going to be inflation in it.
Yeah.
That's probably a smarter way to do it, where you did like the initial thing. So say with Max maybe offers like 10 lots of 1,000, and we know that the total size is going to be 100 or 1,000 shares in his thing, and that's tied to the subscription. The deal with the subscription income is like 50% of Max's subscription income is going to go back to these people who hold his foundation NFTs.
Yeah.
I can see.
And
yeah.
I was just going to say, like, and being a person at the start of their career, and you've got a lot of learning space, you're quite happy to give away 50% of your subscriptions or anything. Like, when you're unseen, you just want to be seen and in some sort of space where people can get value from you. Even if you're holding a lot of value, you need the attention to provide that value to. And that's where you can get pretty creative and pretty, what would seem crazy in the future. You gave away 100% of your subscriptions, or you gave away 50%, or as you said, you're dropping coins in different places. The great thing about crypto and all this technology is you're not only benefiting from the business that you're doing and the investments you're making, but any kind of peer-to-peer contact that you've helped that person become who they are, or you've seen the value in them earlier before other people did, then you're getting a financial upside as well, which should be the way the world works, I guess. But it's pretty awesome that financial and everything else is aligning at the same time.
Well, it just co-incentivizes human development. And that's the thing, like, rather than, I think a lot of the incentive in the industrial system was to keep people dumb and keep them out of the game. And now we're moving into a knowledge economy, and those who don't choose to play, I think, are in for a world of hurt. And those who do choose to play and do choose to develop themselves, we can really go into a golden age. Like, it's create or disintegrate. Like, there's no alternative here. Like, you don't want to be someone who's relying on doing a job that a machine can do 5 or 10 years from now. Like, that's not a place that you want to put yourself. So this system sets it up that, okay, yeah, we're ready to, I need to become more valuable. So yeah, Max is saying, like, so everyone is like their own company. I mean, everyone already is their own company. It's just that the potential for this with NFTs and with cryptos is that you allow other people to buy into that company. And it doesn't matter what the regulators do. Like, regulators could decide that they're, going to really crack down on this and make it really difficult and complicated and bureaucratic to run business in this way. Like, I think it's still yet to be determined, what the US government is going to do with this, what the Chinese government's going to do with this. It's not like it's just going to be a free-for-all for everything, but it's also likely that some countries are going to go like, yeah, you can run that stuff here and, run it however you like. If you look at the sovereign individual and that sort of stuff, like there are really, really big questions coming for government, for, is it going to be world government? Like, we're either going to go into this golden age of freedom that's run on Bitcoin, or
a big squeeze first.
The other alternative is that there's no, everything is controlled and there's no real, freedom to create. Or maybe there's some kind of middle ground. I guess at the moment we're in this middle ground where it's like, if you are really creative, you can probably do some really cool stuff. But yeah, it's not clear what the regulators are going to do. Lockie's saying we're very Warren Buffett-esque. I don't know if. I guess Warren Buffett's thing is to buy a big chunk of a company and then, change it. And that's what people don't understand about the way Warren Buffett invests. They think that he's just buying and holding. That's not what he's doing. He's transforming the companies. And that's what I do with the people that I work with, people who come to my events and people who turn up on my calls and stuff consistently, and, play the game, read the books, do the juggling. They change. So it's not just the fact of like, oh, I want a share of what you're going to do. It's like, I know that you're the kind of person who can, go to another level. And, I can see that you want to do that. I can see that you're going to do that. So, let's do that. And, here's the co-incentivized structure. It just works so much better than saying, okay, well, it's going to be $10,000 worth of mentoring. It's going to be $100,000 worth of mentoring. Jamie's like, well, I don't have $100,000. So this thing gives a possibility for us to work together, and it feels better because we're both working on it, and he doesn't have to take out a loan to get the support that he needs to get off the ground. This is why I get so excited about the NFT conversation, because I just see potential in business that wasn't there before. And social tokens probably play some of the same role, like with launching your own cryptocurrency, and then, you know, based on how much crypto you hold, how much of that, you know, the Uncom token, how much of that you hold could give you access to certain areas of the Discord or a website or live events or whatever. You can use tokens in a similar way to how the NFTs can be used. Like there are differences, but there are similarities with that as well.
Yeah. Cool.
Very cool. Well,
as I said, the only other difference between NFTs and the royalty kind of based ones, there'll be security NFTs. There's like a DAO wrapped in it, and it gets a bit more complex. But yeah, awesome chat.
I think we covered a lot today. I really appreciate your creativity and your efforts to understand this space and to get into it. When did you realize what an NFT is, or decide to start moving in this direction?
I might have seen it. I listen to a lot of Tim Ferriss podcasts and things, and he gets on Naval Ravikant, and he is just like so deep in this space, so knowledgeable. And I think maybe July last year I first heard the words, and then maybe September, October, I was really, really digging into it a bit more, just listening to lots of podcasts and getting more interested.
Yeah, I think we've been speaking about it for maybe the last 3 months. I remember you were pretty much right at the start when we started working together with Gen Freedom. Like we were discussing it, and you were sort of letting us know that you were figuring out how to launch yours and whatnot. So if anyone's listening to this and they're like, oh, I'm so far behind, I'm so new to this, like Jamie first heard about it in July. Like I heard about it, early last year through Gary Vee, but I didn't really take it seriously. I'd been buying them, but I didn't really have an interest in it until the Secret Pineapple Society drop, which was probably in November, I guess. I can't remember exactly when it was, but it's probably been like 2 months since I really care about NFTs. So if this is, early in your journey with it and you feel like, oh, I don't know enough about it and I'm left out and I'm way behind, like everybody is brand new to this. The cool thing is there is no one with a PhD, in NFTs. I mean, I think there was a TED talk about them in like 2018, but they didn't have much of an idea about what they were really going to be at that stage, or the applications or whatnot. So it's new for everybody, and the fun is in adapting yourself to it and to doing the learning and to thinking about who you'd need to be to have to make use of this. So yeah,
awesome stuff.
Love it. Great to have guys on live as well. It brings a new dimension, another dimension to the call. Thanks very much, Jamie. Look forward to connecting again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, Keegan. Thanks for having me.